Many students were forced to learn remotely from home during the pandemic. Some high schoolers are now rethinking their future plans, including whether or not to go to college. According to a recent survey by the ECMC Group, the likelihood of high school students attending a four-year college has dropped to more than 23% in the last year and a half. By the way, that's down to 48% from 71% in May of 2020. Again, not that long ago. The report also noted that although the sentiment around attending college seems to be drifting, 86% of those high schoolers said they still feel pressure from their families and society to attain a four-year degree. However, from the looks of things, it seems as though Gen Zs are putting more emphasis on career training and post-college employment. Joining us now to discuss is CEO and President of ECMC Group, Jeremy Wheaton. Jeremy, welcome to the show. I'm so glad we're talking about this. Tell us more about this survey and what it tells us about the attitude towards receiving a post-secondary education.
Hi, Hannah. Thanks for having me on to share our learnings. Yeah, we were fortunate that back in February of 2020, we started the Question The Quo public awareness campaign to learn more about how Gen Z students, 14 to 18-year-old high schoolers, were thinking about post-secondary education. So it allowed us to get a measure right out of the gate of how they saw education then and how the pandemic has impacted them. And as you just noted, unfortunately, there's been a decline in students want to pursue a four-year education, 23 percentage points. There's some good news in there as well, though.
What I do want to ask you before we get to the good news, and we will, what are some of the main reasons as to why these students don't want to attend a four-year college?
Yeah, first and foremost, there's just a huge concern about how much debt they have to take on to pursue a four-year education. And then they're really concerned about whether that's actually going to lead them to a job that gives them the income that they need to support themselves and their families. So throughout the pandemic, they've seen the struggles, and their concern has only increased.
What other plans are these high school students thinking about or contemplating if they don't want to go to college or thinking of skipping college, at least for now? What makes most sense to them as you were conducting the survey?
Yeah, let me be very clear. We're proponent of seeking post-secondary education. And what we see is that 45% of the students surveyed are actually interested in pursuing a degree that's less than 2 years in duration. And there's just a recognition with the pace of change in today's society that they're going to need to continue to pursue their education throughout their lifetime. So that's really the way they're looking to take in their education, not to do it all 4 years right out of the gate, right as they leave high school, but actually maybe to pursue 1 or 2 year certificates, and then throughout their lifetime continue to go back to school as they're working, as they're earning a career, earning through their career, and ideally with their employer participating in some which way, shape, or form in either paying for that education, paying off any student loans they had from that initial education, or providing them training in concert with an institution.
Should we blame the pandemic for this, Jeremy, or are there other factors at play here?
Oh, like so many things we've experienced, this was all in motion prior to the pandemic, and the pandemic has really just hastened this change. There was concern about the return on the time and the investment that it took to educate students, and the pandemic has just brought that to the forefront. We see in our survey, even through the 20 months, so many more answers of I'm unsure or I don't know. So there's just an increased uncertainty as you see across the nation in what direction they should go, what's going to best serve them and their family, and quite honestly, this nation as they look at spending their education dollars and importantly as well their education time. It's not just about where they elect to go to school, but are they going to be able to complete that education and have a great career afterwards?
We know the student loan debt crisis continues to play a huge factor in our country. Do you think that factored into this decline of high schoolers wanting to attend a four-year school?
Yeah, I mean, number one that they cited is the cost of education. And I think at the end of the day, more transparency in the cost of education. The average discount rate is about 50% on schools. So just helping students understand what school's truly going to cost for them. The Question the Quo campaign we really put out there so that students could investigate at questionthequo.org. It's live right now, what the different pathways are that they could possibly take, 1 year, 2 year, 4 year, and then what their outcomes could be from that in earnings, and also how they could pay for that as well along the way. So at the end of the day, just ensuring that students are making the choice that's right for them, and then that they have the supportive services around them to be able to complete school. The completion rate, I think, is as big of a challenge, quite honestly, as the cost of higher education right now. The completion rates are incredibly low, especially for those that are poorest in our community.
What should colleges be doing to encourage more enrollment?
I think right now, being very transparent about what it's going to cost, and also being very upfront about how they can assist students in completing their education. So if they're going to come and go to their school, how are you going to be able to help them with housing? How are you going to be able to help them with child care? What assistance are they going to have in seeking a career? And, you know, these stackable credentials, if I'm only going to go to school for a year, you know, I might get a job right out of that schooling, but then what are my options afterwards? What are my next steps so that I can build a career in career and technical education where you have skills, you know there's going to be a high demand job for you out there afterwards, and what they can learn. So embracing students and ensuring them, if they come to school there, that there's a pathway that'll get them to what they're looking for at an affordable rate and into a job that they're going to be passionate about.
Some have made the argument that universities should maybe lower their cost, or degrees with science, engineering, or math might be the only ones worth pursuing. I'm curious, Jeremy, with the survey and just you looking into this sector, what is your response to that?
Yeah, I think education has a good return on investment if you pick the correct path for you. So again, being transparent about what it's going to cost and what you should expect as far as earnings when you complete. That will allow a student to make a good decision that will give them a good return on their investment of their time and their resources. So while we do need to be thoughtful about what we're charging, I think picking a career, honestly, that you feel good about, that you can complete the degree and get a great job afterwards, is going to give you and your family a great return on that investment.
How many students were involved in this survey? How often did you guys talk to these high schoolers, Jeremy?
Yeah, so we've done 4 surveys since February of 2020. We did 2 in 2020 and then 2 in 21. And we have surveyed over 4,000 students from across the nation, from a host of socioeconomic backgrounds and all genders. So very significant, statistically significant survey that gave us just a great deal of insights on how we can help individuals and families make good pathway decisions moving forward.
CEO and President of ECMC Group, Jeremy Wheaton. We really appreciate your time, Jeremy. Thank you so much. In other news,